what's up, how's it hanging, how's it happen? You guys notice this is Kevin from the Chord Progression Podcast, sponsored by Dark Fusion Systems, the best custom computing for your gaming, creative, artistic, music, whatever needs. Go to darkfusionsystems.com and get $100 off your entire custom PC build. Please code CPPOD at checkout every time during your build. Also, you know who uses Dark Fusion Systems? Ryan Kirby from Fit for a King. Yeah, so you know they're good. So go to the podcast, get your own custom computer now. Now let's have a feature presentation. 3 years ago, I had a Scent Like Wilt in the podcast with their vocalist, Nick. Now, there's another vocalist there as well. His brother Al is on, along with drummer Cody, who's been on the podcast multiple times with Theoria Records and with If Not For Me. And you know what? We have a blast time with a brand new album, Distant Dystopia. Wait, let me make sure I actually got that right, because I'm going to feel really bad if I didn't. It is Distant Dystopia. Huzzah! Coming out on February 23rd. Go check it out, and we dive deep in the album and how creative this band really, really is, and why creativity is so important. Are you guys ready? Let's go! Yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, listeners of the Chord Progression Podcast. 3 years ago. Yeah, it's been 3 years since this band has been on the podcast when they released their album Mystic Auras. Since then, there's been a lot that's been going on with them, but they're ready to come out strong in 2024 with a brand new album called Distant Dystopia, which comes out on February 23rd. And we get to go into the album with the guys here as well. Now, coming to you from the great state of Pennsylvania, please welcome Cody and Al from the band A Scent Like Wilt to the podcast. So, Cody, welcome back, and Al, welcome.
It's great to be here.
It's great to have you guys here. I'm just going to jump into it right away because that's what I feel like right now. Since the last time I talked with anybody since the band, you know, when I talked with Nick back in 2021, since then up till now, of course, the new album coming out, but when it comes to the band, give us the full-on update. What's happened with the band over the past 3 years? Because I know there's probably a huge amount that you could really talk about, but I want to hear that like superhero origin story from Mystic Auras all the way to Distant Dystopia.
Al, you want to take this one?
Yeah, I can. I mean, I don't know, man. There's not really like that crazy of a story. I think, honestly, we recorded Mystic Auras towards the tail end of 2019, and then we went on a 3-week tour to close out the year right before Christmas time. I remember, and I feel like that was one of the most difficult periods in our band's history, to be honest with you, and no less than that, or right afterwards, the pandemic happened. And since then, I think, you know, it's changed a lot of perspective with everybody individually within the band. And I think just like physically and mentally too, and everybody has sort of forged different paths, and we've all acquired new jobs since then too. And I think we've just had like a more like a broader outlook on life in general. So yeah, we've been preparing a lot, writing a lot of music, and we started recording this album fairly quickly after Mystic Auras. I think we made Sunscape and Familiar Beings back in 2021, and we were going to release them as singles, but we held out to make a full-length record. I mean, me personally, I felt that we sort of undelivered on the last record in terms of the amount of songs, just because 2 of them were like short instrumentals, so we only really delivered 8 tracks. So it's been nice to kind of like regroup collectively as a band and release like a proper full-length record with 12 like actual songs, you know.
See, I can understand that, especially coming from Mystic Auras. I do remember even with that, you had like 10 tracks on there, 2 of them were more instrumentals, so you had only 8 really on there that were full-fledged tracks people could really sink their teeth into. Of course, there's a couple of tracks on there I still go back to this very day because I think they're just absolutely fantastic. But now going into Distant Dystopia as well, again, trying to make sure that you get exactly everything you want out of it in terms of overall sound, overall quality, overall mixture, overall experimentation that you're trying to work with to really allow those creative juices to flow, but not, you know, and especially recording 2 singles back in 2021. Okay, to release them as singles, we put it on a full-length album, especially put out an album in 2021, and then you put out like 2 singles afterwards. I get to the point where, you know, in the world of streaming today, you want to keep music constantly pumping out there to keep yourselves relevant in the algorithm. It's all about that standpoint. But at the same time, you're potentially then diluting what you guys already did, because now there's not as much of a lifespan for that album to really sit in. So now with Distant Dystopia coming out, it's not that necessarily that Mystic Auras is like a complete distant memory, but in terms of like relevancy to the new, you guys are coming through once again with something that, you know, isn't going to be necessarily as closely tied to Mystic Auras had those singles been released back in 2021.
100%. And like I was saying, like Mystic Auras is all, the whole album cycle came out through the pandemic. So it really, like, we recorded all that with all these high hopes of touring and doing all sorts of awesome stuff. And then the pandemic came and shut everything down and just kind of made us and everybody else in the music industry have to kind of pivot and regroup on stuff. And I don't know, we kind of really had to take a step back after Mystic Auras. We're really happy with how that came out. I'm really proud of that album. I think Distant Dystopia is a little bit of a step up in terms of technicality, and also like what I was saying, like we COVID really put a lot of perspective into us and made us really grow as people outside of being in the band in our own personal lives, and like pivot different jobs and other musical endeavors and stuff. So we kind of pushed a little bit of what we were doing with Ascent Like Wolves away for a bit. Now it's really cool with coming back with Distant Dystopia as a collective again and really regrouping on everything. And really happy with how this one is. It's probably some of the most challenging stuff we've ever had to do. And we really experimented a lot with this one. I really like the story that this album tells. Like, so another reason we don't like putting singles out and just letting them stay as singles is we're a really aesthetic band. We want like our story, the artwork, the music, all to reflect something, all to tell like a story, like all to just kind of build together. Like you hear the songs as individual singles, but when you listen to the whole album in its entirety, it's just like a whole journey. It's like how I felt Mystic Auras was as well. It's like a whole vibe to it, you know? But yeah, it's kind of where we're at right now, and we're just really stoked to be putting stuff out again and talking to people like yourself. So thanks for
very well said.
Our music.
Very, very well said. And even going into the album as well, because I know you said, especially from where the pandemic was, releasing Mystic Auras through a whole entire album cycle during the pandemic, and wanting to make sure that when it came to this album with Distant Dystopia, you have the singles you want to release to make sure that you're, having that like little like drip feed to of course the masses, to the people, to the Spotify algorithms or whatever it might be, to continue to feed that, but at the same time be able to continue to tell your own story through the entire album, so that people can, still get behind the singles, but they want to listen to the whole entire album because they want to go through the whole entire flow of the story. I do want to get that into a little bit, but when it comes to really creating this, I know you guys are talking about just having these different perspectives and these different ideas, especially around life, because of, the tour that you guys went on right before COVID, then Mystic Auras, and then just how life ends up playing out. Because Cody, I know you with everything you do with Theoria Records. Of course, there's an episode on the podcast that's going to be directly about Theoria Records with Cody, either right before this episode or right after this one of the two. So I'll put the link down somewhere for everyone to get it. But I also know that, you guys also have to go do your own things as well in terms of support yourself for money. And if I'm correct, I believe I saw this. Didn't Nick end up moving all the way to Hawaii? So that kind of just adds to more of like a challenge when it comes to making music, having another member of the band literally on an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
I'm going to visit him in like 2 weeks from now, actually. So it's like my first time over in Hawaii. But yeah, I think that for us, like just the touring sort of has slowed down in terms of Ascent Like Wolves. And I think that's something we'll get back to eventually. But ultimately, I think we just wanted to put out like a great record, and we had ideas. So that's kind of where we're at, currently.
Well, that's pretty quickly said. I'm not going to lie, but it's concise. It works. Yeah. So
I mean, like Ascent Like Wolves has always been like our passion project, like our way to like vent ideas. Like there's stuff I would do as a drummer in Ascent Like Wolves that I would never think of doing with another band or something, just because that's what our niche is. Like what I love about Ascent Like Wolves is we're not writing music to try and please anybody. We're writing music that we personally want to hear and create as musicians. And a lot of times I think, especially nowadays, a lot of bands lose sight of that, and they're really just trying to, we got to make this song hit octane. We need this huge chorus here. The drums can't do anything crazy, though. No one's going to listen to that. Like the technicality, a lot of times gets lost. You're either like a super technical band, like the Event Animates, Peripheries, like Animals as Leaders out there, where you have your own little niche of like genty progressive kids, and then Or you're like a Bad Omens, Catch Your Breath Until I Wake band that just has giant choruses and relates to a different audience, where we don't really think that way. We're just like, yo, this sounds sick. Like, I'm gonna go nuts on this part. It's gonna be really cool, and it's just, I don't know. So something like Wolves is something that, yeah, we might not have been able to tour as much as we would have liked to, but at the end of the day, we're still pumping out the music that is genuine to us, and I think genuinity is something that this industry is lacking a lot anymore.
Oh, I would have to 100% agree with you on that. And I recently had a conversation with Andrew from the band Project 86, and we kind of went into this specifically in terms of, you take a look at a lot of heavier bands, it seems like they'll release a lot of their best stuff on like their second or third album. And this isn't with everybody, but this is kind of like what you typically see, where a lot of fans like, oh, I wish they would have sound like, X album or Y album, and it's usually like their second or third. There's so many fans that keep going back to Bring the Horizon's first album or their second album, wish they would go back to that, and it's like, well, why is that? And there could be changing perspectives, there could be changing sounds overall, changing ideas of what you want to do, but there's also other things that come into play where sometimes that hunger is gone just to go out and absolutely rip and create your own entire sound, because now you got to worry about, okay, the band's getting bigger. Now there's like other finances in play. You might have a family you have to support, and you might be removed from what really, in your mindset, what really led you to create some of these great sounds and great tracks based on the emotions you were feeling and are connected to. So you have to create that feeling of like dissonance and disassociation from the current, get back to where you were in that terms of being hungry for something new, something fresh, something different, and not worrying about all the externalities of life that can come in and affect it, to make sure, like you said, trying to have a bigger chorus or a bigger like a bigger breakdown or something like that, so it hits on Octane or Liquid Metal or something that's going to have more of this pop sensibility to it. And I like that about you guys specifically, because you guys are just creating what you want to create with Ascent Like Wolves. You're not taking any idea that's coming from, oh, we have to get this on Octane, we have to get this on this certain playlist, we have to create this certain sound because this is what's popular right now. You're just making the music that you want to make. You're creating it the way you want to create it, and you're trying all these different things to sound because that's genuinely what you want to do. It's that kind of music. When we look at it, we start to feel some of that niche of complexity, that niche of just individuality. And some of those bigger bands, like you mentioned, Cody, that are getting popular, like Bad Omens, yeah, they have their own individuality to them as well, that they really forged on the Death of Peace of Mind. Even before that, even with Finding God Before God Finds Me, there's some of that sprinkled in there as well. But from what you guys are doing, it has that speak to the feel of, has this grander feel to it, that you guys are creating your own entire thing, and you're doing it genuinely because this is the music you want to hear. This is how you want to have it sound, and you want to challenge yourselves to do things that you think that you want to do, and not just do things because they're going to be popular, not do things because they're going to get on Octane, not do things because we might make more money off of this because it has a specific sound that is popular at this moment.
Exactly. You hit the nail on the head.
No, yeah, I think I guess to elaborate, what Cody was sort of saying, like Ascent Like Wolves has always really been our passion project, and we've had our run-ins with being on record labels and like going through our finances and making things work in that regard, but ultimately we just want to do whatever makes us happy and whatever we want to put out. And largely, on the grand scheme of things, it just kind of all ties into the artwork and the aesthetic and like the image of the album, the story, and that's really what we care about. And even if we couldn't tour off of this album right now, what we cared about the most was just releasing the music and letting people digest it. And we don't want it to be another 4 years before we put out an album just because Nick moved away. And Nick actually recorded all of his vocals before he did move away, so it was convenient. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, we get to do whatever we want to on Cody's label with the album as far as like timeline and planning and stuff. It's been really great to work with him and Chris on it. So I'm just curious to see what people's reaction will be on the grand scheme of things when the album fully drops next month.
So it kind of helped, especially when it comes to the label side of things, that, one of the guys that runs the label that you're on is the drummer of your band. So when it comes to timelines and everything.
Yeah, I'm not an asshole label guy, so.
But nah, he's just Cody. Good guy Cody. And I have to get a t-shirt that says Good Guy Cody with Cody just like this.
Hopefully everyone thinks that. But I try to be.
Go to customink.com and whip one up for you.
It's just gonna be.
It's
Cody.
Also nice too. Oh, sorry.
I was saying, it's be Cody's face, just
nice
like, and just stick figure thumbs.
Yeah. Sorry, my video's been cutting in and out, but I think I heard everything you guys were saying. But it's also nice too, just putting out the music through Theoria. It's like with how laid back the band is right now, in a sense, in terms of like commitments and touring and stuff. Like we're not gonna get buried in like complications with the label or debt by the label or anything. It's like we can completely do what we want on our terms, which is a kind of really
I
nice laid back thing to
remember
have.
when we were on We Are Triumphant, and we just so for a little backstory, I guess we were talking to Victory Records first, and then We Are Triumphant ended up picking up the band, and we had like some sort of pseudo contract with the Artery Foundation management, and one of their decisions, which was like a shitty label management decision back then, was to split our Frigid Future album into two EPs, and the band definitely didn't want to do that because it just completely fucked up the entire
Against what we
aesthetic of the
do.
album. Yeah, so that's like nothing we would have to worry about this time. And I remember we felt pretty bummed out about that because we had to pick like a different set of artwork for it, and I guess ultimately the band sort of just stood our ground on releasing the album as a full length. But due to that, we had to cut some songs off of the album to put onto an EP so we could promote it overseas. But that's like another story. So yeah, working just with our own label has been great.
Yeah, we also had a manager around that time that gave us all this crazy advice and all these high hopes that we'd get on this huge label, and then they started negotiating us off of a deal with a record label that we were on just to completely just quit the industry entirely and never talk to us again in the middle of the negotiation. So yeah, the industry's rough out there sometimes.
Yeah.
Now that
Tell
seems
you
a little
what.
bit wild. You got a guy trying to negotiate a contract for you, and all of a sudden, midway through, nah, I'm just done with this. Not done with it, just done with music entirely.
Yeah, and then left us hanging on the label that we were on those bad terms. Then
Yeah. Now
so it was just kind of like, hey,
DIY touring on top of that too.
yeah, and it was just, I mean, you live and you learn. There's not really like a rule book on how to do these things, and like what works for one band's not gonna work for all. Everything's so variable. And you just have to rely on people telling you they're going to do the things that they say they're going to do, and a lot of times that doesn't happen.
Awful. Yeah.
And that's not even just like a music industry problem, which has been for quite some time, but that's just a worldwide problem now where there's a lot of times you can't trust what people are going to say. You can't trust them for their word anymore if they're going to make a commitment, because how many times do people make commitments like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this, and then like the day beforehand it's, oh no, I can't do this anymore, and it's because simply they just aren't into it. Like, I just don't feel like it, man. That's it. Like, come on, dude.
I do that with plans all the time in my social life. I'll make plans like 2 weeks and I'll like come home from work and be like, man, why did past Cody make this plan? I don't want to do this. I want to sit in bed. Just life.
Yeah, just life and the way it happens. But now jumping back to Dystopia. So when it came, because you guys are talking about, Al's already, he's like, oh yeah. Well, this one might just go directly to Al too then, because when it comes to the overall, just as you said, you want to create an album that has this whole entire complete flow to it from one song to the next, where you can feel this whole story kind of go through and get the fullness of it from beginning to end, rather than having it pieced out single by single. So when it came to writing Dystopia, when it came to the overall idea behind its concept, I know it's not a concept album, but when it came to the idea behind where it was going, thoughtfully, what was that like, and what was the idea behind it?
I mean, it is a concept album.
Okay.
I think like largely, all of our releases have been sort of tied into the artwork a little bit when it comes to like where we draw this inspiration from. And I think the band itself, I've said this before, not to you directly, but we're all very like influenced by anything like cinematography, photography, like anime. Like we sort of draw influence from that, and it's been really great to put out these anime music videos for Dystopia, because it's something that we've longed to do like really badly. So it's been great seeing that come into fruition. But I believe that the title I came up with maybe like 4 years ago now, before Mystic Auras was even out. If you ask Cody, I'm a little crazy about this kind of shit. Like I'll think of the artwork and like the title before the album we're working on right now is even out. So that
always starts with the artwork.
Yeah. So our dude Corey will draw something up to him. I'll like send him an idea, and we just usually get like a general outline or like sort of like a sketch of it. But um, yeah, Distant Dystopia was thought of probably about close to 4 years ago, and I had like a rough sketch of it too. But the album itself is about just sort of the end of the world, based on the title, I guess is a little hint. But it's been cool drawing influences from movies and TV shows and things of that nature. But with the Scent Like Wolves, there's always a little personal input from our personal lives sprinkled on top of the of the songs itself and the lyrics. So yeah, I'm really excited to get that one out there. I think Sunscape sort of portrays the album very well visually. So I think if you haven't checked out the video yet, or for people who haven't checked out the video, that's what they should check out first. I think it's just like the perfect single for the album. And this time with the release in Distant Dystopia, we sort of wanted to go back to our roots a little bit in terms of Cody was saying the technicality and get a little heavier. And I think that's what Mystic Auras might have lacked at the time. And Mystic Auras is what we wanted to do for the album, don't get me wrong, but for this album, we wanted to sort of add more electronic elements and synthy elements with our breakdowns and just, I don't know, just have a little fun with it, man. Just kind of see what was out there. And there was no sort of like time schedule or anything that we were pushing forward to release. So it was nice just being able to get together with the four of us and just make an album that we truly wanted to make.
Honestly, I think that's a great way to put it, honestly, just because now I'm kind of even more captivated by the album. Thinking about it as you're speaking about it, I'm thinking, okay, where's this song? All these different songs coming. I'm taking a look at my notes even while you're talking. I'm like, geez, now everything's starting to come into place and why these songs sounded the way they did. Because you're kind of talking about, yeah, you're thinking dystopia, you're kind of thinking the end of the world. And as much as, they really bring forward that on a lot of fiction, a lot of anime, any kind of thing that really has more of that lore to it that really creates that feel. Take a look at everything we, as a society, we went through when you first thought of that artwork in that title in the past 4 years.
Yeah.
We went through a whole entire pandemic. We even went through, especially for here in the US, everything went on with the 2020 presidential election. We've seen everything from wars. We've seen everything from, economic crises, housing market craze is, people trying to beat each other up for, Stanley thermoses, apparently. There's so much in there that's going on where you're seeing this just de-evolution of society. And this potential for all these different issues that could lead to this dystopian end of the world feel. And even for your own personal lives as well, we want that little bit sprinkled on top of there because that's where the real raw emotion comes in. And especially when it comes to Al, you and Nick's vocals, that's where a lot of that emotion ends up coming in a little bit stronger because when you tie it into that emotion in your personal lives, now it comes through as much more genuine. Now as a listener, even as your producers, whoever was producing this album as well, probably was thinking about it, I want to be able to believe this. I want to be able to believe this sound and believe this emotion that's in there. And when you sprinkle your own little personal side to it, yeah, that's what ends up happening. We feel it. We know it. We connect with it as humans. We believe in it. And when it comes to technicality around this album, you guys definitely went a lot more technical than I was expecting, even compared to Mystic Auras as well. The technicality behind it, some of the way the riffs work, because they weren't all just have these powerful metalcore style feels. While they were rougher, they had some more technical prowess to it. They were a little bit more choked at times, a little bit more just like on point, on beat, never really letting this letting wane on, letting these notes just really create this larger sound. Just sometimes they're quick, sometimes they're just there. Cody with the drums on some of these songs, just quick fills, a little bit more on the intricacies behind there, create more of this dynamic flow behind it, and a lot of the programming decisions on these as well also created that feeling of dystopia, whether it's in a lighter setting, a darker setting, contrast between guitar tones. There's so much that you guys did in this album behind here to really create that feel through every single song, where each song does have a feeling to stand on its own, but trust me, it's a lot better when you go from front to back and you experience the full entire thing.
Appreciate the hell out of all that, man. It's definitely exactly really what we were trying. As always, man, you always hit the nail on the head of what the band's trying to do, and that's an awesome ability you have there. But what I really like too about this album is like kind of expanding more on the artwork behind it. Like kind of mentioned before, there's animated music videos for all the singles. And what's really cool is that, well, except for Reach of the Hell, but what's cool is it's if you just look at the animated music videos, it almost tells a story through an anime. It's really sick. Like it starts with Sunscape showing like the all hell breaking loose and humanity falling apart. Then you go into Spellcaster, you start to see a little bit more salvation, and you get into Interstellar, which you're going to see on Thursday, and it's just nuts. And I think just like even if you just were to put all those together and watch them as like an episode of an anime, you would. I think it's something really unique and special and really helps captivate that story that we're trying to express through this music.
We'll even think about that. Oh, go ahead, Al.
Yeah, I think the guy who has animated our videos, his name is David. At least I think that's how you pronounce it. I just usually he's usually sometimes just signs off as David or something. But yeah, he's been like fucking phenomenal to work with, man. Like he's done music videos for I think bands like Make Them Suffer. Maybe not entirely, but he's definitely helped do some animation for bands like that out in Australia. He lives in Melbourne, and then he did a video for our friends in Soft Spoken like 6 or 7 years ago. So that's how I actually know about him. Shout out to Soft Spoken. But yeah, I think he did a real like great job of just coming up with these concepts in the animated videos, and the storylines are just incredible. And they do actually have a chronological order to them. So it would go Spellcaster, Interstellar, and right now there's a gap between Sunscape. So we might come out with another video. We haven't decided yet, but they do go in that chronological order. So the final video in the series is Sunscape, which is like this fucking wasteland, fucking dystopia. So yeah, it's just been really cool to sort of see our work and our ideas come to life,
I'm gonna have to take a look and see if that guy did the Akutama video for Alpha Wolf, just given the animation style behind it. I gotta take a look, see.
I'm not really sure you can see his body of work. I can send it to you, but yeah, he's great.
We're gonna be going through the credits on that thing and say, all right, where is it? Is his name there? I must find it. But even when I think about just having, different types of music videos, and even though we talked about a little bit earlier where it's just, attention spans at times, we talked about before we even recorded this, attention spans, attention spans aren't necessarily as large as they once were, thanks to, social media, TikTok. But when you have videos that have sort of this story built in between them, have this lore where you can kind of go from one spot to the next and take a whole entire another perspective on the album itself, if it is done in a way that has this sort of different attention capturing feel to the audience, that's where it really stands out. And of course, lately, I don't think anyone's done it better than Ice Nine Kills with even the first Silver Scream and Welcome to Horrorwood as well. Of course, you have all the little tie-ins with all the different horror movies. Of course, you have a much larger budget over there, especially under Fearless. However, it's the story able to even connect to every bit of it, which keeps you intrigued to the point where when those music videos drop, you want to see not only what they do, but how does it still connect to the other one in like from front to back. What you guys have with this one is you have this anime style to it. Now, again, there's not going to be everybody that's as into anime as a bunch of other people. Similar to Ice Nine Kills, you're not going to have as many people into horror as much as others. However, if you're able to find a way to connect that story, create something behind it, create a lore behind it, and have it continue to go out there to really show to the masses that this is such a big thing that you can really get a whole nother perspective on the album from, and the song is going to take on a whole nother life of their own through the chronological order of what feels like you're watching an anime series or one episode or one series put into one whole episode, then hell, sounds like a great idea. Plus, it's a style that you guys always wanted to try and go after. Why not go all out with it, right?
Yep, it only took a couple years, but here we are kicking it out, and there's a lot of chipping away financially at it all, but we're really happy with how it all is, and I'm really stoked when we can put the whole cohesive album out with all of the videos.
That was something I was really hoping for too, because again, you want to have that cohesion there. You want to make sure that it has that feeling that people can go through and watch these videos, get behind them, but then look forward to the next one that gets released, because then it creates that fever pitch. It creates that wanting for them. And of course, that's always more the business side of things, but you gotta have creative fun with it too, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's all about what
that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Yeah, I think Cody's right about that though, just in general, like about all of our artwork tying into it, because it's hard to explain. Well, I guess it's easy to explain. Kind of when you see some sort of artwork tied to music, maybe you haven't listened to the song yet, but you see it on online on social media or something, and you're like, that's kind of like fucking corny, or that sucks. I feel like you're less enticed to check it out. But if you see something with awesome artwork where there's some effort was put into it, it makes you want to check out the release more. And I've noticed that over time, just good artwork usually means that the music is awesome too. Like they sort of go hand in hand. At least that's what I figure. Like with my favorite albums, like that new Counterparts album that came out a couple of years ago, that was like a fucking phenomenal album, and the artwork is amazing too. You know what I mean? I feel like I don't know. Bands will just like hit the nail on the head every now and then with both of those things combined. But I definitely feel that having good artwork for your album sort of just like elevates the album in general too.
Well, when you think about it from that perspective, well, we as humans, when we look at artwork before we even listen to the album, or we take just a look at that, it has this visual representation. We see all the different symbols that are there. We see the different way the style is, the palette, the color palette is, and just these different influences and how this comes through. Whether it's in more of like an anime style, whether it's something that is more abstract, have a more of that artistic flow to it, or something that's just manic and crazy, but it creates this overall emotion in us that we can connect with, and it already gives us this perception of where this song is potentially going to go. If you have really bland artwork or really just poor artwork for an album cover or for a single cover, then already, you know, as humans, we take a look at that, the song could be fantastic, but then it's not going to hit as heavy or as impactful as it could, because we're already feeling that this is not going to be up to snuff, because the artwork does not make us feel like we have to listen to this, that it's not connecting with us on such a strong emotional tie that we're not feeling it. But if we get something that has absolutely over the top incredible artwork where we look at it and we're just blown away by it, and I'm trying to think of a good example of one I could use. I'll use the Death of Peace of Mind record by Polaris. Literally, yes. I mean, you take a look at it and it looks like there is something just absolute impactful, but like open space to where you know something is going to be powerful. You know this thing is going to be huge, but what about it is it going to be huge? And then you listen to the album and you have this openness already to it that you're ready to go with it. And it just absolutely hit. It was one of the best albums of 2020. However, again, artwork is such a big piece. It gives us that visual representation already and allows our brains to connect with where this song or where this album is going to take us. And it has the ability to expand that and allow us to really get into it and really feel the emotions, or contract it and make us so narrow focused where we're so stuck on what one feeling we're getting from that visual that we're not allowing the song to really breathe on its own and really expand into us the way that it really needs to.
100%. I mean, it's all branding and marketing. Like it's just a extension of the music. I think if we're talking about album covers, I think one of my favorite album covers is the new Bad Omens album. Like it's super simplistic, honestly, but I think it just completely sets the tone for that spicy metalcore you're about to listen to, as TikTok calls it now. But
or isn't it baddie?
You know, I don't know. I thought that was like Scene Queen's new. I don't know. I can't keep up with these genres anymore. We're just gonna call it metalcore. We're gonna call it core. Whatever's trendy, I don't know. But yeah, just going back to, I mean, more Ascent Like Wolf stuff. Something I have also loved about our band and our branding is we've used the same artist from the inception of the band, Corey Swope. I'm gonna shout him out. Also shout out ZOMBIESHARK. His Cybergrind project's sick. But yeah, and he's just been really incredible at taking mainly Al's vision for what the concept is. Like, I mean, like Al said before, he'll literally present me the album cover like a year before we even start working on the music. You know, then it helps like kind of set the tone for what we're going to make with that, you know. And like I saw like the artwork for Distant Dystopia before we had anything. It was like I think it was like right after Mystic Auras came out. And putting the foot in the door to continue. I love, you know, but yeah, I mean, artwork is a huge thing with that. Another band I think that I really like the branding with everything is Emarosh, Peach Club. Like, because they like completely rebranded themselves with that sound. But like what I loved about it was every single had some sort of cohesive artwork that tied into everything. And then when it came out as an album, it just really made it pop and really made the marketing for it fantastic. But end rant.
Yeah, I think you absolutely hit the nail on the head too when you talk about the Bad Omens, Death of Peace of Mind record, because you take a look at the album artwork and it's simplistic, it's clear, but it's a lot more abstract at the same time too. So at the same point in time, there's a lot of people that were already knew Bad Omens. You know you're getting into something that's going to have a little bit more artistic creativity that you're not expecting, but you also still know that there's something that's going to be spicy about it in the metalcore sense because it is Bad Omens. It makes a lot of sense. And then when it comes to you guys, I do also love the fact that you continue the same artist over and over again because it allows this cohesion and flow to continue throughout the band. It continues to show that evolution, but continues to also show that A Scent Like Wolves is still A Scent Like Wolves. It shows that core feeling of the sound is still there. It's not like there's this drastic change in artwork from one album to the next where you're quite kind of questioning what's exactly going on here. There is that cohesive flow to it, and it's a very unique style too. It's something that when I look at your album covers, I know they're A Scent Like Wolves album covers. If I see something even remotely close to it, I'm like, it kind of reminds me of Scent Like Wolves, but there's nothing that's even really close to what you guys are putting out there in that artwork, because it has that different feel to it. And again, it connects it back to the band's core sound so that you know exactly that you're going to get something that is A Scent Like Wolves, but the artwork also gives the feel of where it could go and be a little bit different. Mystic Auras had a completely different, warmer feel to it. This one had a little bit of a colder feel to it looking at the artwork. But again, that's what you guys are going for with the overall message. It makes sense.
Yep, and like something I said before this podcast happened, like I remember just being a kid back in like going to the mall with my parents and them just dropping me off in an FYE and with a listening station, and I don't know a lot. I didn't have Spotify or streaming. Hell, YouTube was brand new at that time too, you know, so I wasn't able to just like digest music and have it just like thrown down my throat like we get right now. So I would just literally look through CDs until I found an piece of artwork that encapsulated me and made me want to listen to it. And a lot of times, like we talked about, if a band puts a lot of effort into that artwork, typically the music's pretty sick too, because they kind of have their artistic their vision nailed down.
Yeah,
but the attention spans of TikTok and everything that we talked about killed the listening stations. And
I think we're
services.
just kind of like we're kind of like an old school band that way too. Like we love putting out like albums, and you know we're not just there for like 30 seconds and here comes our next uninspired single. 8 weeks from now on Spotify that we didn't put that much effort into or something like that. You know, we take a lot of time to prepare and release our music, and sometimes like the last couple releases have been, it'll take us 3 years to do that, but at least you're getting like a pretty polished product in the process. So
not only a pretty polished product, but a product that's going to take its time to really evolve throughout the writing process, the recording process, so that the emotions behind it are continually hitting in every step of the way, because you know exactly what you're going after. You're not putting out songs, 2 months after each other and trying to write them. So in the next one, it's like, all right, what do we write about? Feelings, feelings, and continually going forward.
Breakdown, blah.
Breakdown, blah. Feelings, yeah, sad time.
I think a lot of bands fall into that trap too, where they're just so conditioned by what the streaming service are quote unquote looking for in that like 6-week release period, where like they just really lose sight of what they are as a band, what they're trying to accomplish as a band, and the ultimate genuinity behind the music that they're trying to put out. Like, I just kind of going back to like our songwriting and stuff. Like we really we're not trying to be anybody. Like we just really want to put out something that we've really never heard before, and that at the end of the day, we're proud of. Like me as a drummer, I want to write something that if there was another band I was listening to, it was like, holy shit, that drummer is ripping right now. Like that fill is nasty. Or I'm like, or like, I know we're really inspired by like clean guitar parts and like old school post-hardcore, like Funeral of a Friend and stuff. So like a lot of our clean parts, like a lot of bands probably wouldn't do a lot of the leads that we do, just because it's just not what's trendy right now, or what Bring Me the Horizon's doing, or what Architects is doing right now. I mean, it's just kind of, we're just trying to do. I want to do something that like a past Cody that's sitting in FYE scrolling through CDs would be like, holy shit, this album looks awesome and this is nuts.
I think we're just kind of like
try to do that.
We're just kind of like products of our past selves. Like when we were in that era, like mid 2000s, late 2000s, when we wanted to, strongly like be in a band and like, That's what just everything is what we are, is what we just draw on all of our influences from, really, like what Cody was saying, like Film for a Friend, all those sort of bands from like the mid 2000s like that. And um, it's kind of cool, like showcasing that in our music, because people who are maybe just, kids who are like 17, 18, 19, like growing up now, who really weren't a part of that era, like they hear that and for the first time. And I think that's cool that maybe they'll go back and check out some of that history. You know what I mean? Like Atreyu and I don't know. Trying to think of bands off the top of my head right now, but
Well,
30
well,
Seconds to Mars, yeah.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say when it came to
Glassjaw.
when it came to especially some of those clean lead-ins for me, just how powerful some of those clean vocals came out because of it, compared to what's popular today. For me, I mean, I literally wore this shirt specifically for this. I wore an older We Came as Roman shirt because it reminded me a lot of like the Kyle Pavone era We Came as Romans, where those cleans came in with such a contrast between what the uncleans were doing, but it's just so much more of a powerful hit, and how it worked along with a lot of the guitar tones as well through this. That was a huge, huge, huge piece on this album, where I'm not hearing a lot of that anymore because it's not as popular. It's just not what it's hitting people right now, but it still comes through with such a heavy piece that emotionally you want to hear that. You don't want to get rid of it. And if that's what you guys want to do, if that's what, old Cody and old Al wanted to hear when they were flipping through records at listening stations, just trying to figure out what's going on, and they see artwork and they just hear the song and it just absolutely hits. If you want to create something that's that moment, absolutely. Because that's when music is music, when you're creating what you want to create. If you're just constantly trying to please the algorithms and you're constantly trying to just pump out music over and over and over again, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But that also kind of leads back more to the music business and the business side of it, less than the creativity side of it. But if your creative process is, say you release a song and then a month later you come up with something that's absolutely fantastic, you want to release it the next month, yeah, that works. Fine. Go for it. That's what that's there for. That's one of the beauties of streaming, because you're not beholden to, this specific release schedule. But at the same time, the fault's in it where if you want to constantly keep that up, then creativity may very well suffer due to the fact that you don't have a lot of time to let those emotions and the sound fully flesh out.
Yeah, 100%. You'll hear me rant a lot about the industry stuff and my philosophy on all that, and the Theoria podcast one. But yeah, I mean, you have to have a happy medium with it. Like, not saying like what we do is 100%, because I mean, we taking too long is also a big downfall out of a lot of where we are as a band. I mean, it's just, but there's a lot of variables that led to all of that, because you also have to think you're not just one person. You're a band of 4 to 5 other adults, so you have to kind of coordinate with what's realistic with everybody, and where everybody else is at their time of life. And I don't know, the genuinity piece I just absolutely love about A Scent Like Wolves, though. It would be nice to release music faster, but I mean, here we are with all of it, and I'm really proud of everything that we've put out so far. But there's definitely nothing wrong with the bands that do put stuff out every 6 weeks or so. They just as long as they have what they care about behind it, that's all that really matters to me.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you there. And even on this album too, with Dystopia, I know you guys have a couple of features on there. You had, if I'm going to forget his name, I don't want to butcher it. Marcus Vick from Invent Animate. You guys also did one with ZOMBIESHARK as well. The one that I was looking forward to the most when I saw it on the list was the last song, Escape Hatch, because it featured Sailing Before the Wind. I was like, there's gotta be something good here, because ever since I had Nick on the podcast back in 2021, he brought up Sailing Before the Wind. I'm like, I got to find a way to bring these guys on the podcast. It hasn't happened yet, but I'm still adamant about it.
That band's nuts. Yeah, we could try to help you out. We love those guys. We toured Japan with them twice, and they're just incredible dudes. And honestly, I remember the first time we went over to Japan and played with them. We watched them play the first night, and we're just like, what the hell are we doing over here? Like, I've never seen a band that good live. No click tracks, no samples, just straight up, just fucking crushing it. And just the choreography behind, I mean, you've seen their videos, I'm sure, on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok. They're just nuts. Like, they're just like a whole different breed over there. And we were really humbled. It made us 100% step up as a band. And yeah, those tours really, I think, defined us as a band. And like, I mean, for me personally, that completely made me level up as a musician, just by how challenging all that stuff was. But hopefully we can go back there again.
Yeah, I hope so. It'd be cool. Yeah, Sailor Before the Wind's just like on another level. I remember we played. I think was it the first night we played with them? I can't fucking remember. But we played with them in Nagoya, Japan, and I think it was at this venue called Rad Seven, and it was really really cool venue. And I remember our merch table was sort of near the crowd in general, and it was sort of near the pit. And I was standing there with our driver Tatsu and Nick and Corey. And Sailor Before the Wind has this song called Intro, which they only play live, but now they have a recorded version of it. And there's this one part where literally there's just dead silence and they stop for about 4 seconds. And all you could hear was a bunch of Nikes squeaking in the pit. Like people just flailing around still. I remember after we heard that, we were just like, wow, like we really have to step up our shit.
Yeah, and again, no click tracks or samples or anything, which like I don't care what bands tell you, like pretty much like 95% of metalcore bands use click tracks and samples anymore. And just to like see a band that tight with that much open space was like nuts. There'd be like a whole like measure or two where there'd be like open space where they're just like you can hear them counting with their feet, and then it just comes back in. And the whole time their choreography is they're not like moving or anything. They're just dead silent, just stoic, you know. It was really humbling. We were just like, damn, we need to step the fuck up or we're gonna have a hard time out here. But we did. I mean, that's what this is all about, you know. Yeah, we have Ryoichi on that one, and he's a sick vocalist. It just adds a really cool element to the song. It's cool to have it be the final song in the album too.
Yeah, oh god, it was the song I was looking forward to the most when I just initially looked at the track list because it had Sailing Before the Wind in it, and my thought was, when it comes to vocalist, how is he going to come in? How is he going to add his flair to it? But also, because it's not just the vocals, it's featuring Sailing Before the Wind, so I'm like, there's got to be a whole band feeling involved in this. How is a Scent Like Wolf style and how is Sailing Before the Wind style going to clash? And I remember listening to it right from the opening, pounding metalcore, a little bit of that like Japanese influence style programming over the top of it. And I even wrote down, this is the song I was most excited for because it features Sailing Before the Wind. And the opening is exactly what I hoped for in this whole entire track. Like, literally,
Yeah,
in the first like 5 seconds, I'm already sold on this track because of that. And it kept going through. It had this consistent, tighter feel to it from the instrumentation. But even having some of those Japanese instrumentals come into it to mix your style with Sailing Before the Wind's Japanese metalcore style, it all flowed together so cohesively to the point where by the time it got over, I was thought about this. I'm like, you know what? This is the perfect song to have at the end of this album because it's the song that makes this album end on such a fantastic note where you just want to go back and listen to it again, but not just listen to that song again. You want to listen to the whole entire thing because you want to get to that moment where this song hits and you're fully in the mindset and emotion prepared to go and listen to it and feel its impact. Like, that was such a strong move to have, and also with its uniqueness, combining what you guys have, what Sailing Before the Wind has, put it together. It was the perfect matchup for you guys to hit on, and yeah, you hit on it. Like, damn!
Appreciate that. It was really cool to have some of the features we had on this one, just like the homies. Like it was so awesome to get ZOMBIESHARK in this because again, ZOMBIESHARK is Corey Swope, who does all of our artwork. So he's basically an extension of the band as far as I'm concerned. Been there from the beginning, you know. So it's really cool to have his feature. And also talking about styles, it incorporated his like glitchy cyber grind feel to it and his vocals and his feature in there. I thought that was really cool. Reach Into Hell is just it's probably the most wild Scent Like Wolf song I think that has ever come out. It's just absolute chaos. And to me, I love that it's in the spot it is in the album because it just kind of like in my depiction of it is when in the story, the lore of this, everything is just kind of hopeless and like falling to shit. And it's almost just like the song is, if you listen to it, you're like waiting for it to fall apart. You know, it's like almost just completely unhinged. And like it was really cool as a musician just trying to like write a song like that. Where like that's why like a lot of the drumming is just like really short, quick fills where they might not be, and like outlining the guitar part with the drums and stuff. It just makes it have this kind of just unstable feeling to it, which while still being on time, but I don't know, just music nerd rant, artistic thing there. I just think it's like it was really cool having some of these features here try to tell the story that we're trying to represent with Distant Dystopia.
It definitely added a lot to it, not gonna lie. And I'll even put it this way before kind of really wrapping this one up with my two last questions for you. As great as the songs that had the features on them, for me, that was none of those even reached the height of what I thought was the best song overall on the album.
Oh, yeah?
What do you think is the best one?
I thought it was Artificial Love. That song,
Okay.
I don't know what happened. I was listening, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, this hit, like for some of the verses, hit in the similar style, like kind of building up. I felt like sometimes Silent Planet, sometimes Devil Wears Prada, and a connection back to Telephone from Mystic Auras. Like, that song I absolutely love too. So I'm like, okay, now I'm feeling this all come in here. Then the chorus, it felt like, we're going back to the like 2009, 2010, 2011 feel of metalcore, but having those impactful cleans over there, really reminding me a lot of, again, more of earlier We Car with Kyle Pavone just pounding vocally over the top of it. It brought back that emotion again, but with so much combining. I'm like, why is this making me feel so just like into this song? And a lot of it reverts back to how I felt listening to Telephone by you guys. And it brought back all the emotion right back in here and feeling. I'm like, I thought Telephone was my favorite song by you guys. I'm like, this honestly is my favorite song by you guys right there. Holy fuck. And ending the song with isolated vocals. What a freaking move. What a move.
Appreciate that.
My God.
Yeah,
that's the emotional hit.
Idea.
That was the emotional hit
like
the
that.
song needed to close out on, and you absolutely took it.
Thank you, man. We really appreciate all the kind words, by the way. Just like super proud of everything, and not just like vocally, but instrumentally. Like Jeff and Cody went fucking ape shit on this album, and that was like the creative decision we made. In general, what we wanted to do, and I think we sort of. I don't know. I feel like low key, this is probably the Something Like Wolves record I know I've always wanted to make. In terms of just like the four of us getting together and just artistically doing whatever the hell we wanted to. And we've never actually ended a song with vocals before like that. And I've there's like some bands that I listen to where I think I might have heard a song over that time period of us writing this, and I'm like, why the fuck haven't we done that yet? And one of the most popular songs that I know of that does that is Blink Feeling This, and I think that's one of the reasons why me and Nick chose to do that. So it's strange with writing like the vocals sometimes for this band, because we sort of have to collaborate on parts, and I think Artificial Love was actually a song that I sort of handed off to Nick, and I was like, okay, you take the control of this one, because I don't really have anything for it. So he largely wrote the melodies on that, and I was screaming on the songs. So I think typically with the Something Like Wolves, I've been doing the clean vocals and the choruses, and he was been taking the reins with like the screaming with the verses. So Dystopia has been pretty cool to sort of like flip flop in that regard, where I come in and do most of the screaming for the record, and Nick does most of the clean singing for the choruses. And I don't know, Artificial Love was just, I don't know, it just really hits. I guess that's how to describe it. I think, that song just sort of goes all in, and ending with vocals was just kind of like phenomenal, just because we really haven't done that as a band yet.
Man, it was the perfect move. Holy shit. That's all I'm going to say about it. Perfect move. Holy shit.
Appreciate that. The focus track of the album, so hopefully the streaming gods will think the same thing that you do.
Hopefully. Well,
Yeah.
we're just gonna go like this as streaming gods.
All right, playlist curating gods.
Yeah. All right, you know what? I got two big questions for you guys. Ready for the first one?
Yeah, go for it, man.
Will the Sound Like Wolves be playing live in 2024? Because I want to see you guys play live.
We would love that. That's a tricky. It's a loaded question. I'm gonna say yes, because I don't, just knowing how I am with things and how Al is and how much drive we both have and determined we are with things, just with especially our art and something we hold so dearly and are proud of. I just can't imagine not playing these songs live. Like something that really crushed me with Mystic Auras when the pandemic was we got all the stuff ready to go, started rolling it out, and all live shows go away. It would like kick us like in the gut really bad. And we made a point to, no matter what we had to do, whatever lineup we had, whoever we had to bring in, we were going to at least play those songs. And we at least got to play them twice. But going forward, I mean, like as you said earlier, like Nick lives in Hawaii now. So I mean, it's if the offer is there where it's financially reasonable to go out, and I hate to say the word financially and associate it with art, but at the same time, we are adults and like have to be conscientious of all that. So if the right move is there and there's like a potential for us to go out, I don't see why we wouldn't do anything. You know, it's something that we definitely want to do. So I'm just gonna be really optimistic with it and say, yeah, you'll see us sometime.
I certainly hope so, because I got to hear some of these songs live. I got to see you guys perform live, because again, Cody, I've had you on the podcast. I don't know how many times at this point, but it's
my third.
maybe third or fourth. Yeah, third, I think. So I was like, maybe fourth. I don't know, but yeah, I didn't see you play live, man. Like we're due at this point, but looking forward to it if it ends up happening this year. Otherwise, I know it's gonna happen at some point. You just don't know when, but I hope it happens this year. Now I've got one last question for you guys. Are you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, I've been loving to ask this question to every band I've had on since September, and I'm going to keep it rolling with you guys. So between the two of you, can you guys give me 3 bands that you would love to have more people go and check out and listen to? And Cody, I know with you and Theoria, this is like the perfect question for you, but I want 3 between the two of you, so 3 total. I could probably guess even one that Cody's going to come up with, but I'm just going to let you guys take it away.
I think I'm gonna do a favor and just try to separate Theoria from this question because you know what I mean.
Okay, we'll leave the Theoria. We'll wait till the Theoria
we can
episode
do that
to do
on
that
the
one.
Next one. I'll plug a bunch of bands from there on that one. You know,
Perfect.
Honestly, a band that I discovered this year that is completely outside of metalcore, but I was completely blown away by their album, just them as people, like from just seeing what they do on TikTok and social media and just their overall drive. And Honey Revenge, a Thriller Records band. I'm a huge pop punk fan, and I think that is one of the best pop punk albums I've heard in a really long time. And they just seem like so fun to see live. I've never seen them live, but I would definitely love to. But that would be one for me. What's up, buddy? Al,
Do
what
we
do you
have to do
think?
3 each, or
No, just 3 total. So Al, if you only have one, Cody can
just
probably
3
go for a
total?
second.
I'll make
Does it have
another
to be-
one.
Yeah, go for it, man. Go for it. You got one.
Oh, well, you
mind.
go first. I got to think of one.
All
That's
right,
not a Theoria
okay.
band.
So does this have to be a band that's like underrated, or could it just be
Whoever-
any band?
Whatever band you're feeling right now.
Whatever band I'm feeling. I think, well, for me, so I guess this is probably a good opportunity to even say this, but yeah, I'm going to see a band in the UK, in London, actually, 2 months from now. They're called Fight Star. I don't know. Most Americans probably don't know anything about this band. Criminally underrated band. And the vocalist, Charlie Simpson, he's like a fucking god when it comes to vocals. So yeah, this band is sort of they used to be more post-hardcore. They have a little bit of metalcore vibe right now, but he's in this other British pop punk band called Busted, and they play arenas and that kind of shit. But this is kind of like his passion project, like side project. They did tour a lot at one point, but they're getting together for like a 20th anniversary show. It's like a special night, so it's going to be awesome to see them. They're playing the OVO Wembley Arena in London. So yeah, I would advise anybody to like go check out their album. It's called Behind the Devil's Back. Fucking awesome album name, has great artwork too. Like that's another thing. Like that's a band like when that has probably grown on me with influence that way. I look up to that band because they have phenomenal artwork and their music rocks too, you know. So yeah, I'd say Fight Star.
I know I told you I wasn't going to plug a Theoria band, but I think this one is absolutely necessary to plug, being in its relationship to Scent Like Wolves, and that is ZOMBIESHARK with Corey Swope, the artist of all of our stuff. ZOMBIESHARK's what's known as cybergrind. So talk about crazy genres. It's like I don't know. It's like grindcore mixed with Nintendo core and just all sorts of crazy unhinged shit. It's nuts. I've never heard anything like ZOMBIESHARK, and something that I really like about this artist is just we talk about genuinity. Like this is the purest form of art to me, is what Corey does. Like he does not care about music conventions whatsoever. And if you listen to any of these songs, you'll just be like, what the hell was it? You want to see something funny? Check out Orion Reacts responding to his first view of ZOMBIESHARK.
Okay.
But yeah, I just highly recommend, if you want to hear something that I guarantee you've never heard before, which in this day and age is really hard to come by, it's ZOMBIESHARK.
Then just wait for the Kevin reaction to his first time listening.
I would love to see what you think of it.
Well, I'm doing. I do reaction videos every single Friday, and now I'm like, shoot, because I was getting back into the whole entire Japanese metal scene again, trying to get back into that. But I'm like, shoot, I've got to do another. I got to do a Sailing Before the Wind song because I've only listened to a couple, but I still absolutely love it. I got to do a ZOMBIESHARK now. I got a lot to do. And the one I thought Cody was actually going to shout out was, well, I don't think they're on Theor anymore because they got bigger, but I know you're a part of it too, if not for me.
Yeah, I didn't think it's right to be shouting out another band I play in, but if you do want to check out If Not For Me, you definitely can. It's Invoke Records.
I was going to say, you guys are...
I think we're...
I was going to say, I can understand you not want to shout out, but I was going to do it anyway.
I appreciate that. I try not to mix all the stuff I do outside of each other.
I'll say this, very fair. But as we bring this episode to its conclusion, you guys know I always like to give you guys a chance to say whatever you want to say. Plug if you're going to plug, promote if you're going to promote at the end of the episode. So guys, floor is yours.
Al, you want to start?
Yeah, let's go. All right, yeah. I would ask everybody to check out our new album next month. It's called Dystopia. We worked really fucking hard on it, and I think that there's a slice of pie for everybody in the art, itself, whether that's the artwork or the music. I think that there's a little piece to enjoy of it. So yeah, check it out. It's gonna be everywhere: Spotify, Apple Music. We do have physical copies online on the Theoria store. So if you want to get a limited vinyl, now's a good time to do it.
Yep. Yeah. Just I really appreciate everybody listening to us, not like wolves, and any new listener sticking with it or checking us out. I appreciate the hell out of that. This project holds a really big place in my heart and who I am as a person. A lot of my personal growth, a lot of incredible times have come from this band over the years. And I don't know, every bit of artwork we get to create is a blessing and truly means the world to me. So if you could give a listen, even if it's a 45-second clip on TikTok that you just scroll through, like, hell, I appreciate that you even gave it a chance.
All we are saying is give us End Like Wolves a chance. If you see him on TikTok, otherwise just listen to him completely. Something like that. And
as always, I appreciate the hell out of you, Kevin, for caring about the things that I do. So you're the man.
Aw, thanks, man. You're the man.
Yeah.
And Al, you're the man too. But now it's time for this podcast with three specific things. First things first, when it comes to Ascend Like Wolves, when it comes to this in Dystopia, you're going to want to find it and listen to it and stream it and buy physical copies and follow along the band with everything, especially when the album comes out on February 23rd. So the best way to do that is to let me act as Google for you. Go to the description of the podcast where it says find Ascent Like Wolves online. Links and labels for everything from social media to stay in touch with the band, from YouTube to watch all those crazy music videos, the anime style, where you can find them online, where you can get some merch and get those physical copies, and where you can stream the whole entire album and the rest of their music down in the description below just for you. Now it's time for number 2. You guys, I asked you if you guys are playing live in 2024 because I want to see you guys play live so I can make good on the promise I like to make to every single band as a way to say thank you for being on the podcast and I wish we can support you in the future. Cody, you know probably where this is going, but this is continued. When I get to see you perform live for the first time, I'm going to go all Liam Neeson and Taken on your asses. I will look for you. I will pursue you. I will find you. I will say hi, and first round's on me.
Look forward to it.
Hell yeah, man.
Cody, I think you're on like 3 rounds at this point, though. So
yeah, you're just gonna have to get me trashed at this point.
Not a problem. Now, number 3, as we bring this to its conclusion, I cannot end this by saying goodbye because literally, Cody, we're gonna be talking in a whole nother episode with Theoria and everything around there. And Al, I want to be back on the podcast again in the future. I want to have Nick back on here as well too. Bring all the Scent Like Wolves. I want to make sure this happens again. Plus, I made you guys a promise. This is not goodbye. No. This is. I'll see you later.
See you next time.
Yeah, man. We'll see you later.
Woo! Well, folks, this is my interview with Al and Cody from the band Ascent Like Wolves. Now it's time for Kevin's final thought. One thing that I always like about Ascent Like Wolves is their sound is just always a little bit more unique compared to some of the other stuff I've been hearing in metalcore. When it comes to what they do, they provide a lot of different like post-hardcore vibes. They also provide a lot of those like booming cleans that you heard way back in like, 2009, 2010. Think of like Woe Is Me. Think of the Kyle Pavone era, We Came as Roman Cell. But they do go heavy. They do put in a lot of programming as well. And they just are creative with it. No wonder why it takes sometimes so long to put out music, because they're letting these songs really create this whole entire vibe. They're letting them breathe. They're letting them have their own identity behind them. And that is such an important thing going forward, because if your songs don't have their own identity, if they just sound like the same old songs over and over and over again, you might be able to get some kind of traction on it, but you're never going to reach that level of Bring Me the Horizon or Falling in Reverse, Bad Omen, Sleep Token, Spirit Box. If you're not just having that artistic vision really come to light and let it fully flesh out the way you want it to. Now, again, if it fleshes out in, like 2 weeks, yeah, fine. That's what happens. It happens. If that's what you want to do, go for it. But if you really want to make sure that you have something that has that uniqueness to it, let the artistic and the feeling flow all the way through. Let the artwork also reflect that as well. So then it's something that you're connected to even more. You're even more proud of, and it just has this beautiful, beautiful feeling behind it. It's something that I really like about Ascend Like Wolves. It shows in the artwork, the consistency behind it. It shows in the programming on these tracks. It shows the lightness, the darkness of it. It shows how it complements with these different guitar tones, different guitar patterns, whether they're tighter, whether they're a little bit more drawn out, whether they're more melodic, melancholic, whatever you want to call it. Whether the vocals are harsh and unclean or whether they're soaring cleans, kind of my going to go again with Kyle Pavone in terms of the overall emotion and how it connects with me. Whether it's just those insane drum patterns that Cody works with, whether it's the fact that Sailing Before the Wind feature in the final song is so good and how they connect with their sound overall is so fantastic. You don't want to miss out on Dystopia, so make sure you go and check it out. Go to the description of the podcast where it says Find Ascent Like Wolves online to make sure you do not miss out on anything with them. Follow them on social media, watch your YouTube videos, and of course, get ready for Dystopia to release on February 23rd. Make sure to also find along with us on the Chord Progression Podcast. Go to the description below. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hit the subscribe button on here if you're on YouTube. New episodes of the podcast every single Tuesday and Thursday, and reactions every single Friday as well. Along with, if we're on Spotify, Podcast, iHeartRadio, hit the follow button too. All the episodes released every single Tuesday and Thursday. Hit the like button as well to help push the podcast in the algorithm. I want to thank you guys. Check out Dystopia by Ascent Like Wolves. Thank you, Al. Thank you, Cody. And now, that's going to be for you guys. Thank you for watching, listening to the Chord Progression Podcast. My name is Kevin, and you guys know I never sing always. That was a big, healthy, and hearty. See ya!